Lin Xiaoman, you're just a cripple. How dare you compare yourself to Yuan Yuan? The moment before the car crash, my husband's cold sneer still echoed in my ears. When I opened my eyes again, I had actually been reborn back to my senior year of high school. On that rainy day when I ruined my life by delivering a love letter for him, in this life, I tore up the love letter he wrote for the school beauty in front of everyone. Lu Mingchuan, we're through, 01, I died. This is the first realization after regaining consciousness. In my ears is the piercing siren of an ambulance, before my eyes is the twisted and deformed car roof, and there's warm liquid flowing down from my forehead, blurring my vision. Lin Xiaoman, you just won't go away, came Lu Mingchuan's voice from the driver's seat. Filled with familiar disgust, even going to get a divorce, you have to cause me trouble. I wanted to retort but couldn't make a sound. My body felt as if weighed down by 1,000 pounds, unable to move. The sound of rain, the siren, and the exclamations of passers-by mixed together and gradually faded away. If it weren't for you meddling and delivering that love letter back then, which led to the car accident, why would I have been forced to marry a cripple like you? Do you have any idea how my friends have been mocking me all these years? His voice grew more and more distant. Now it's perfect, you're dead. And I can finally be with Yuan Yuan openly. To be honest with you, Yuan Yuan and I have already registered our marriage abroad. Darkness swallowed consciousness. I thought this was the end, but when I opened my eyes again, sunlight was streaming through the classroom window, casting dappled shadows on the desk. I blink, focusing my gaze on the math test paper spread out in front of me, a practice exam for the third year of high school. Xiaoman, please help me. A pink letter folded into a heart shape is pushed toward me, accompanied by a familiar voice. You absolutely have to help me give this to Su Yuan today. I look up abruptly and see the face I thought I never wanted to see again in this lifetime. Lu Mingchuan at 18, my childhood friend, and the person who ruined my life in my previous life. He's looking at me with that pleading smile I could never refuse, just like every time he asked for my help over the past decade or so. The voice choked in the throat, fingers trembling uncontrollably. What's wrong? He tilted his head, his face radiant with youth under the sunlight. It's just delivering a love letter. It's not the first time. I'll treat you to a drink tomorrow. Memories came flooding back like a tide. It was this love letter. It was this day, in my past life, I delivered his love letter for him. On my way back, I was hit by a car, lost my right leg, missed the college entrance exam, and lost my chance to become a doctor. Out of guilt, the Lu family forced Lu Mingchuan to marry me, but it ended up ruining both of our lives. Xiaoman, what are you spacing out for? Lu Mingchuan waved his hand in front of my eyes. School's almost over, you should head over soon. On the podium, the math teacher was explaining the final major problem. The classroom was filled with the stifling heat of early summer and the tense atmosphere before the college entrance exams. Looking around, every face was both familiar and unfamiliar. This was my senior year classroom. I had actually traveled back 10 years. No, I heard my own voice, sounding unnaturally calm. You go deliver it yourself. Lu Mingchuan was stunned, clearly not expecting me to refuse. Stop joking around. Our homeroom teacher is so strict. If I get caught, I'm done for. You have good grades, the teachers all like you, so even if you get caught, it's no big deal. I picked up that love letter and, under his expectant gaze, tore it in half, then into quarters, and finally crumpled it into a ball before throwing it into the trash can at the back of the classroom. Lin Xiaoman, have you lost your mind? Lu Mingchuan's expression changed dramatically, and his voice drew sidelong glances from the surrounding classmates. I am completely lucid, staring straight into his eyes. The pent-up anger and grievances from my past life surged in my chest. I thought of how he had repeatedly mocked me as a cripple in front of his friends, how he had abandoned me time and again to go abroad in search of his first love, even getting married overseas, and how he had insulted my parents and loved ones over and over again. Lu Mingchuan, from today onward, it's over between us. Handle your own mess. The class bell rang at the perfect moment. I quickly packed my bag, ignored his shocked expression, and rushed out of the classroom without looking back. The sunlight felt warm and real on my face. I took a deep breath, feeling the healthy, strong strides of my legs. This wasn't a dream. I had truly been reborn, returning to the day that would change my fate. This time, I will not repeat the same mistakes. 02, the moment I pushed open the door to my home. My eyes instantly welled up with tears. Xiaoman, you're back. Mom peeked out from the kitchen, her face still free of the wrinkles that would later form from worrying about me. Dinner is almost ready. Go wash your hands first. I stood still, greedily taking in the sight of this familiar yet unfamiliar home. The calendar hanging on the living room wall showed March 12, 2015. Mom's favorite light blue curtains swayed gently in the breeze, and a plate of fresh fruit sat on the dining table. Every detail felt so vivid. In my previous life, after my amputation, my parents nearly went bankrupt trying to pay for my treatment. My mother's hair turned white overnight, and my father's back became hunched, but now, they stand before me, healthy and strong, as if heaven has given me a second chance. What's wrong? Why are you standing there spacing out? My mother wiped her hands and walked over, reaching out to touch my forehead. Are you feeling unwell? I hugged her tightly, burying my face in her shoulder, breathing in the familiar scent, a mix of light cooking oil and laundry detergent. It's nothing, I just missed you. This child just left this morning and already missing me. Mom patted my back with a laugh and said, go wash your hands. I made your favorite sweet and sour pork ribs today. During dinner, I practically devoured every dish Mom had made, and even Dad was surprised by my appetite. After the meal, I took the initiative to clear the table, then announced under my parents' astonished gazes, starting today, I'm going to fully focus on preparing for the college entrance exam. So I might not have as much time for household chores. Did you have an epiphany? Dad chuckled, pushing up his glasses. All right then, your mom and I will take care of the chores, you just concentrate on your studies. Back in my room, I locked the door, threw myself onto the bed, buried my face in the pillow, and silently screamed a few times before calming down. I had truly been reborn. I had returned to the most critical month before the college entrance exam. I turned over and sat up, pulling out all my textbooks and notes from my backpack, spreading them across the entire desk. Since fate had given me a second chance, I was determined to seize this opportunity, get into the capital medical university I had always dreamed of, and become a doctor. Opening my math notebook, I froze. The formulas and problem-solving methods I once knew by heart now looked strangely unfamiliar. I then opened my physics and chemistry textbooks, and the situation was even worse. Years of a difficult marriage and the self-doubt brought on by my disability had caused me to forget most of my high school knowledge over the long stretch of time. Can't be. Cold sweat broke out on my forehead, and my fingers trembled slightly. Rebirth gave me a healthy body and a second chance. But it didn't return the knowledge I once had. There are less than 3 months left until the college entrance exam. I took a deep breath, pulled out a brand new notebook, and started making a study plan. In my previous life, I missed the college entrance exam due to a car accident. Later, I could only get into an ordinary university through self-study exams and ended up studying a major I didn't even like. This time, I must get into the best medical school with the most outstanding results. At 2 a.m., I finally completed a detailed study schedule, precise to every hour of every day. My eyelids felt as heavy as lead, but I forced myself to open the math textbook and started reviewing from the most basic trigonometric functions. Xiaoman, why aren't you asleep yet? My mother gently knocked on my door. I'll go to sleep right away, I responded. But I still insisted on finishing the problem at hand before turning off the desk lamp. Lying in bed, I recalled what had happened at school today. Lu Mingchuan's shocked expression appeared before my eyes, and a faint sense of satisfaction from revenge stirred in my heart. In my past life, I was always at his beck and call, even ruining my own life just to deliver a love letter for him. Yet after marriage, he took out all his resentment on me. This time, I won't have anything to do with you anymore, I whispered into the darkness before falling into a deep sleep. The next morning, I arrived at the classroom half an hour earlier than usual. The morning sunlight streamed through the window, spilling over the empty desks. I took out my English vocabulary book and started memorizing words. As my classmates arrived one after another, they all showed surprised expressions when they saw me at school so early. When Lu Mingchuan walked in, I didn't even look up, completely focused on solving physics problems. Xiaoman, he stood in front of my desk, his voice clearly displeased. Don't you plan to explain what happened yesterday? I continued writing formulas without even glancing at him. There's nothing to explain. What's wrong with you? He pressed down on my notebook. Haven't we always been like this? You help me deliver things, and I treat you to ice cream. I looked up at him. This face that once made my heart flutter now only filled me with disgust. That was before. Now I need to prepare for the college entrance exam. And I don't have time to play these boring games with you. College entrance exam, he sneered. With your grades, you could easily get into a top-tier university even if you just wing it. Why are you so nervous? I yanked my notebook back forcefully. My business is none of your concern. Lu Mingchuan's expression darkened. Just as he was about to say something, the homeroom teacher, Mr. Li, walked into the classroom, forcing him to reluctantly return to his seat during the morning classes. I could feel Lu Mingchuan frequently glancing back at me, but I never met his gaze. During the break, I seized every moment to review, even holding back from using the restroom, afraid of wasting a single second. When the school bell rang, I quickly packed my bag and prepared to leave. Lu Mingchuan rushed over in a flash and stopped me. Let's walk together. No, I'm going to the library. I tried to sidestep around him. He grabbed my wrist. What's wrong with you? Why are you suddenly so cold to me? Aren't we best friends? I shook off his hand, raising my voice a few notches. I told you, I need to study. Please don't disturb me. The classmates who hadn't left the classroom all looked over, and whispers began to rise. Lu Mingchuan's face flushed red, a flicker of anger in his eyes. Lin Xiaoman, have you lost your mind? Think whatever you want. I slung my backpack over my shoulder and strode out of the classroom, my heart pounding wildly in my chest. In my past life, I had always been cautious around him, afraid of upsetting him. But now, I could finally say no with a clear conscience. The library was so quiet you could hear the sound of pages turning. I found a spot in the corner, spread out my books, and started reviewing. But before long, a figure sat down across from me. Thinking it was Lu Mingchuan pestering me again, I looked up impatiently. Chen Mo, I stared in surprise at the boy in front of me. He is the academic monitor of our class. A top student whose grade ranking has never fallen out of the top 3, he is usually quiet and rarely interacts with others. He pushed his black-framed glasses and handed me a notebook expressionlessly. Teacher Li asked me to give this to you. I took it with confusion, opened it, and saw neat and detailed biology notes inside, covering all the key content for the college entrance exam, and even including extended knowledge. This, my notes. Chen Mo said briefly. Teacher Li said you want to apply to medical school. I looked at him in shock. How did Mr. Li know? I had only filled in this aspiration on my career planning form this morning. Chen Mo shrugged and had already lowered his head to work on his own exercises. Clearly not intending to continue the topic, I carefully flipped through the notes. The content inside was more systematic and easier to understand than the textbook, with key points and difficult sections highlighted in different colors. Thank you, and please thank Mr. Li for me. Chen Mo nodded and didn't say anything more. We each studied quietly like this until the library's closing bell rang. Over the next few days, Lu Mingchuan tried every trick to get my attention, placing my favorite milk tea on my desk, though I no longer liked that flavor, deliberately laughing and talking loudly with classmates on my usual route after school, and even asking mutual friends to find out the reason for my sudden change of heart. I ignored all of it, throwing myself completely into my studies. During the day, I listened attentively to every class, chased after teachers during breaks to ask questions, and headed straight to the library after school. When I returned home in the evening, I would study until midnight, pinching my thigh whenever I felt sleepy. In Friday's biology class, the teacher announced there would be a quiz next week. After class, I saw Chen Mo organizing his notes and mustered the courage to walk over. Chen Mo, could I take a look at your biology notes, just for the scope of next week's quiz? My voice grew softer as I spoke. In my past life, I never asked others for help with studying, but now the situation is different. He glanced up at me, then took a folder out of his backpack and handed it to me. The latest is in here. Thank you. I'll definitely return it to you on Monday. I accepted it as if I had found a treasure. No rush. He paused. Your study method has some issues. I was taken aback. What issues? You're being too impatient. Chen Mo's voice was very calm. The college entrance exam isn't something you can succeed at overnight. Staying up late like this is actually lowering your efficiency. My face suddenly grew hot. How did he know I've been staying up late? Are my dark circles that obvious? I just have a lot of material to catch up on, I said quietly. Chen Mo looked at me for a moment, then suddenly said, Saturday at 8 a.m., third floor of the city library. I have organized key points for every subject. I looked up in surprise, unable to believe my ears. Was Chen Mo asking me to study together? Suit yourself. He had already turned and walked away, leaving me standing there, clutching that biology notebook tightly, my heart inexplicably racing. This is a godsend. After school, as expected, Lu Mingchuan was waiting for me at the school gate again. This time, I pretended not to see him and walked straight to the bus stop. Lin Xiaoman. He caught up and stopped me. What's going on with you? You've been like a completely different person this past week. I've said it many times. I want to study. I tried to get past him. Cut the crap. He raised his voice. Do you have feelings for someone else? It's Chen Mo, isn't it? You've been hanging around him a lot these days. I stopped walking, turned to face him directly, and said, Lu Mingchuan, we're not in a relationship, and I have no obligation to explain my actions to you. Who I choose to spend time with is my freedom. His expression looked as if he had been slapped. We grew up together, and this is how you treat me, because I've known you for so long. I know exactly what kind of person you are, I said calmly. Please don't disturb my studies anymore. After saying that, I turned and boarded the bus that had just arrived at the stop, leaving Lu Mingchuan standing there in stunned silence. Through the bus window, I watched his expression shift from shock to anger, and finally to a kind of confusion I had never seen on his face before. In my past life, I would have been unsettled by any emotional fluctuation from him, but now, I only felt a sense of relief. The bus pulled away from the stop, and I took a deep breath, opening Chen Mo's notebook, quickly immersing myself in the ocean of knowledge. This time, I won't give up my future for anyone. 03, at 7:40 on Saturday morning, I stood in front of the city library, nervously twisting the straps of my backpack. I was 20 minutes early, but I had barely slept last night, my mind filled with formulas and theorems, when the large clock in front of the library pointed to 7:50. I saw a familiar figure step off the bus. Chen Mo was wearing a simple white t-shirt and jeans. Under the sunlight, his skin appeared especially fair, and his eyes behind the black-rimmed glasses widened slightly when he saw me. Morning, he greeted me briefly as he walked up. Good morning. I found myself stammering for some reason. I just happened to come a bit early since it was on my way. Chen Mo nodded without exposing my lie. His home and mine weren't even in the same direction. The air conditioning in the library was turned up quite high. I followed Chen Mo up to the third floor and sat down at a corner spot by the window. He took out a thick stack of neatly bound papers from his backpack and pushed them toward me. This is a compilation of key points and common question types for each subject in the college entrance exam, he said in a very low voice, as if afraid of disturbing the other readers. Take a look first, and if you have any questions, just ask me. I opened the first page, which was densely but neatly filled with concise summaries of all the key knowledge points in mathematics. Important formulas were highlighted in red, common mistakes were marked with a yellow highlighter, and there were small handwritten notes in pencil beside them. This was simply better than any review material available on the market. This is incredibly detailed. I looked up and sincerely exclaimed, "How long did it take you to organize all this?" Chen Mo lowered his head to flip through his book, but the tips of his ears turned slightly red. Not long, he said. For the next 3 hours, we immersed ourselves in our respective studies. Occasionally, when I encountered something I didn't understand, I would lightly tap my finger on that part of the material. Chen Mo would then pause his writing and explain it in detail in a voice only the two of us could hear, continuing until I fully grasped the concept. Around noon, my stomach betrayed me with a growl. Chen Mo glanced up at me, then reached into his backpack and pulled out 2 rice balls and a bottle of mineral water. Eat. He pushed a rice ball toward me. It's from the cafeteria. The taste is average, but it'll fill you up. I froze. You prepared this in advance, Chen Mo had already unwrapped his and taken a bite. I figured you'd be hungry. Holding the warm rice ball, a wave of warmth washed over me. In my past life, I had almost no impression of Chen Mo, only knowing he was a top student who kept to himself. Now it seemed that beneath that aloof exterior lay an unexpectedly thoughtful person. Thank you, I said softly, taking a bite of the rice ball. The aroma of seaweed spread in my mouth. It's really delicious. Chen Mo's lips curved slightly upward. It might not have been a full smile, but it was enough to brighten his entire face. We continued studying in the afternoon. When the library's closing music started playing, I suddenly realized a whole day had passed. My notebook was filled with newly learned problem-solving techniques and key points. My head felt a bit swollen from absorbing too much information, but my heart was incredibly fulfilled. Are you coming next Saturday? Chen Mo suddenly asked as he was packing his bag. I looked up and met his eyes. Behind his glasses, they were clear and calm, without a hint of joking. Yes, I answered without hesitation. 8 o'clock, same spot. He slung his backpack over his shoulder. Remember to bring your water bottle. There's hot water in the library. I nodded, watching his retreating figure, a smile unconsciously forming at the corner of my mouth. On the first weekend after my rebirth, I had actually become study partners with Chen Mo. When Monday arrived, I listened to the lessons with even more focus than usual. With Chen Mo's notes and explanations, the once blurry knowledge points became clear. During breaks, I no longer chatted with classmates but instead used the time to review the previous lesson or preview the next one. On Wednesday afternoon, during the free activity period of PE class, while most students went to play basketball or sat chatting under the shade of trees, I quietly slipped back to the classroom and started working through physics exercises. I knew you'd be here. A voice came from the doorway. I looked up and saw our class monitor, Li Xiaoqing, leaning against the doorframe, twirling a set of keys in her hand. The sports committee sent me to get the spare whistle. She walked in and glanced curiously at my exercise book. Working this hard? That doesn't seem like you. I smiled without answering. In my previous life, my relationship with Li Xiaoqing was just average. She was the kind of cheerful and lively girl with many friends, while I only ever hovered around Lu Mingchuan. You know, Lu Mingchuan has been asking about you these past few days, Li Xiaoqing said casually as she took a whistle out of the teacher's desk drawer. He really doesn't seem to understand why you suddenly stopped paying attention to him. I put down my pen and sighed. I just want to focus on studying, nothing else. Come on. Li Xiaoqing suddenly leaned in and lowered her voice. The whole class can tell something's going on between you and Chen Mo. Someone saw you studying together at the library last Saturday. That's headline news in our class. My face instantly grew hot. We were just reviewing together. Chen Mo never studies with anyone, Li Xiaoqing said meaningfully. Last year, Liu Ting, who ranked second in our grade, wanted to ask him for help, and he just handed her a reference book and sent her away. I didn't know how to respond, so I just lowered my head and continued with my homework. Li Xiaoqing didn't press further either. She whistled and left the classroom. After school, as soon as I stepped out of the school gate, I heard someone calling my name from behind. Turning around, I saw Lu Mingchuan running toward me, his basketball jersey soaked with sweat. Clearly having just finished playing. Xiaoman, wait a moment, he panted, stopping me. Our class is having a basketball game against Class 7 this Saturday. You'll come to watch, right? I frowned. I said I want to study. Just 1 hour. Lu Mingchuan clasped his hands together in a pleading gesture. You know how important this match is. Class 7 has always looked down on us. And this time, Lu Mingchuan, I interrupted him. I really don't have time. His expression immediately fell. Ever since Chen Mo appeared, you've become a different person. What's so great about him? He always keeps a straight face and doesn't talk, like a total bookworm. Don't you dare say that about him. My voice suddenly rose, drawing sideways glances from passing classmates. Chen Mo is 100 times better than you. At least he knows how to work hard for his future, instead of spending all day thinking about how to please Su Yuan. Lu Mingchuan's face instantly turned pale. How do you know about Su Yuan? It was then that I realized I had let something slip. In my previous life, I only knew Su Yuan because I helped him deliver a love letter, but in this life, I wasn't supposed to know her. I heard it from classmates. I hastily covered up. Anyway, I won't be going on Saturday. Find someone else to cheer you on. After saying that, I turned and walked away, my heart pounding in my chest. Lu Mingchuan called out to me a few times from behind, but I didn't look back. On Saturday morning, Chen Mo and I studied at the library as planned. During the lunch break, I couldn't resist glancing at my phone and found the class group chat flooded with photos from the basketball game. Lu Mingchuan looked dashing on the court, and a photo of Su Yuan and a few other girls cheering on the sidelines was particularly eye-catching. Distracted, Chen Mo suddenly said. I quickly locked my phone screen. Sorry. He slid over a draft paper with a complex physics problem written on it. Give this a try. I recognized it as the final question from last year's college entrance exam, which was extremely difficult. Taking a deep breath, I focused and began solving the problem. When I finally found the breakthrough, I couldn't help but cheer softly and looked up to meet Chen Mo's approving gaze. That sense of accomplishment felt more wonderful than any cheers from a basketball game. Around 4 in the afternoon, my phone suddenly vibrated. It was a text message from Li Xiaoqing. Lu Mingchuan got injured during the game. He's at the school infirmary and keeps asking to see you. I stared at the message for a long time, memories from my past life flooding back like a tidal wave. I was always the first one by Lu Mingchuan's side whenever he got hurt or fell ill. I remember in our second year of high school when he had a high fever, I skipped class to take care of him at his house for the whole day, even copying all his homework for him. But after we got married, when I was in unbearable pain from my leg, he hung up on me because he had to accompany Su Yuan shopping. Is something wrong? Chen Mo noticed my unusual behavior. I showed him the text message and said with a bitter smile, in the past, I would have rushed over immediately. He thought for a moment and suddenly asked, Do you want to go now? I don't want to. I replied bluntly, he has so many friends, he won't miss me. Besides, I pointed to the thick stack of review materials in front of me. We have more important things to do. A faint smile tugged at the corner of Chen Mo's lips as he handed me a biology notebook. Let's continue. When I got home in the evening, the class group chat was still discussing the day's competition. From the conversations among my classmates, I pieced together what had happened. Lu Mingchuan had sprained his ankle during the match, and Su Yuan reluctantly helped him to the infirmary but soon made an excuse to leave, leaving him alone. I heard he was very upset and kept asking why no one stayed with him. I closed the group chat without commenting. In my past life, I would have felt so heartbroken that I'd immediately call to comfort him. But now, I just feel it's a kind of retribution, letting him taste what it's like to have no one care about him. On Monday at school, Lu Mingchuan's ankle was still wrapped in a bandage. I deliberately avoided his gaze and went straight to my seat. During the break, I noticed him trying to talk to me several times, but I pretended not to see and avoided him. At lunch in the cafeteria, I was eating with my head down when a tray suddenly landed across from me. Looking up, I saw Chen Mo sitting down expressionlessly, and I was so startled I almost choked. Is this seat taken? He asked, even though there were clearly plenty of empty seats around. No, no one. I quickly shook my head. We ate our meals quietly, neither of us speaking, but the silence wasn't awkward. Occasionally, our eyes would meet, and he would give a slight nod before continuing to eat. This simple, natural way of interacting gave me an inexplicable sense of comfort. Oh, since when did our ice-cold top student start eating with someone? A teasing voice came from behind. I turned around and saw Su Yuan standing there with her 2 best friends, all wearing smiles I couldn't decipher. Su Yuan was indeed beautiful, with big eyes, a delicate face, and smooth black hair that fell long and straight. She was the dream girl for many boys at school. What's it to you? I said coldly. surprising even myself with the direct retort. In my past life, I had always felt inferior in front of Su Yuan, too timid to even speak. Su Yuan clearly didn't expect me to respond like that either. After a brief pause, she forced a smile and said, "Lin Xiaoman, I heard you've been working very hard lately. Are you trying to surpass our Chen Mo, your Chen Mo?" I raised an eyebrow, noticing that Chen Mo was also frowning. "Oh, I was just saying it casually." Su Yuan flipped her hair. "By the way, Lu Mingchuan asked me to tell you that he has something to say to you. He'll be waiting for you behind the gym after school. No time." I flatly refused. Su Yuan curled her lip. "Suit yourself, but he's in a pretty bad state right now. He injured his foot and has no one to take care of him. He doesn't even have anyone to help him copy homework. Then you go take care of him." I put down my chopsticks. Su Yuan snorted disdainfully. "I don't have time to bother with him. If it weren't for pitying him, I wouldn't even bother relaying his message." After saying that, she strode off with her girlfriends in tow. I turned to look at Chen Mo and found him staring at me with a complicated expression in his eyes. "What's wrong?" I asked, feeling somewhat uncomfortable. "Nothing." He adjusted his glasses. "It's just that you're different from what I've heard. What am I like in the rumors?" I asked curiously. Chen Mo thought for a moment. "Quiet, introverted, always following Lu Mingchuan around, like his little tail." This description stung my heart. In my past life, I was indeed like that, treating Lu Mingchuan as the center of my world, completely losing myself. "People always change," I said softly. Chen Mo nodded and suddenly took a piece of paper out of his backpack, handing it to me. "I've highlighted the key points for next week's mock exam." I took the paper, feeling a warm surge in my heart. After being reborn, I seem to have found people who truly respect me. Not those who treat me like a sticky note, but those willing to walk alongside me. After school, I deliberately took a longer route to avoid the gymnasium, but I ended up being cornered by a limping Lu Mingchuan right at the school gate. "Why didn't you come?" he demanded, his eyes bloodshot. "I've been waiting for you for an hour." "I told you I was busy," I said, trying to step around him. He grabbed my wrist. "Is it because of Chen Mo? You like him, don't you?" "Let go." I struggled to break free. "Who I like is none of your business." "How is this not my business?" Lu Mingchuan's voice trembled in a way I had never heard before. "We grew up together. I thought we." "Thought what?" I sneered. "That I would always follow behind you, available at your beck and call, help you with your homework, deliver love letters for you, do anything for you." He froze, his hand unconsciously loosening its grip. I didn't mean it like that, Lu Mingchuan." I took a deep breath. "From now on, please take responsibility for your own life. I won't waste another minute on you." After saying that, I turned and walked away, leaving him alone at the school gate. The setting sun stretched his shadow long and lonely, but I didn't look back. 04, 1 week before the third mock exam. My nerves were stretched as taut as a fully drawn bowstring. I slept only 4 hours a day, and aside from eating and attending school, the rest of the time was spent studying. During the 10-minute break, I could finish half a set of multiple-choice questions. During lunch break, I would hide in a corner of the library memorizing English essay samples, and even while walking, I would listen to recordings of key knowledge points I had made myself. On Wednesday evening, I was struggling with a difficult physics problem at my desk when the letters and numbers in front of me suddenly began to twist and blur. I blinked, and my vision refocused, but it became blurry again in less than a minute. My temples throbbed with pain, as if someone were drumming inside my head. "Xiaoman, have some milk." Mom came in, placing a warm cup of milk beside me and looking at me with concern. "You look pale." "Thanks, Mom, I'm fine." I forced a smile, took the milk, and took a sip. The warm liquid slid down my throat, temporarily easing some of the discomfort. Mom reached out and touched my forehead. "You've been studying all day. Take a break for a while." "No," I shook my head. "The third mock exam is next week. I have to." My words cut off abruptly. The milk cup in front of me suddenly appeared double. My hand trembled uncontrollably, and the cup slipped from my fingers, falling to the ground with a smack, splattering milk everywhere. "Xiaoman," Mom exclaimed, quickly crouching down to check if I was hurt. I wanted to say I was fine, But as soon as I opened my mouth, tears unexpectedly welled up, then came the second drop, the third, soon. I was sobbing like a lost child. All the pressure and fear pouring out uncontrollably. I can't remember, so many formulas, so many key points. I sobbed, my vision blurred by tears. I'm scared, scared of failing the exam, scared of repeating the same mistakes. Mom held me in her arms, gently patting my back. Silly child, it's just one exam. Do your best, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. I leaned on my mother's shoulder and cried for a long time until my tears dried up, leaving only intermittent sobs. My mother cleaned up the spilled milk on the floor and insisted that I take a hot bath and go to bed early. Lying in bed, I stared at the ceiling as my emotions slowly settled. Suddenly, my phone vibrated. It was a text from Chen Mo. Don't come too early tomorrow morning. The library doesn't open until 8. I stared at this seemingly ordinary message for a long time, and suddenly realized that he must have sensed something was off with me, using this method to let me sleep a little longer. I replied with a single okay, then buried my face in the pillow, a smile unconsciously forming at the corner of my mouth. The next day, I slept 2 hours longer than usual and felt noticeably more refreshed. When I arrived at the classroom, Chen Mo was already at his seat reading. I set down my backpack, hesitated for a moment, then walked over to his desk. Thank you, I said quietly. He glanced up at me, nodded, then pulled a folded piece of paper from his drawer and handed it to me. Take a look at this. I unfolded it and saw multiple solutions to a math problem, each written out in great detail. Next to them were notes explaining which method was suitable for which situation. If you feel nervous during the exam, choose the most familiar method and don't try new techniques. He said this without looking at me, his voice very calm, but it made my nose sting with emotion. I clutched the paper tightly. I will. On the day of the third mock exam, the weather was unusually muggy. Sitting in the exam hall, my palms were sweating, and I had to keep wiping them with a tissue. The moment the test papers were handed out, I took a deep breath and forced myself to calm down. The first subject was Chinese, which is my strong suit. The essay topic was choice, and I almost wrote it with the memories and insights from a past life, the pen scratching on the paper as emotions poured out. For the following math, English, and science sections, I tackled each question one by one. If I got stuck, I skipped it and came back to think about it after finishing all the ones I could do. The method Chen Mo taught me was very effective, not striving for perfection, just aiming for stable performance. When the bell rang for the final subject, I put down my pen and let out a long sigh. No matter the outcome, I had given it my all. 3 days later, the results were announced. I stood in front of the grade ranking list, unable to believe my eyes. Lin Xiaoman, total score 689. Third in the grade. My name was clearly listed after Chen Mo and Yang Yi, having advanced more than 20 places compared to the last exam. Oh my god, Lin Xiaoman, you're amazing. Li Xiaoqing patted my shoulder from behind. How did you suddenly do so well? Before I could answer, a group of classmates had already gathered around, all asking how I had studied and if I had any secrets. I stood there at a loss, and my gaze inadvertently met Chen Mo's, who was standing on the outskirts of the crowd. He gave me a slight nod, the corners of his mouth curving almost imperceptibly. I just did more practice problems. I vaguely answered my classmates' questions when I suddenly noticed Lu Mingchuan standing not far away, his face dark as he stared in our direction. His ranking had dropped to beyond 250th in the grade, which in the highly competitive college entrance exam meant he might not even get into a first-tier university. After the crowd gradually dispersed, Lu Mingchuan blocked my path. Xiaoman, congratulations. He forced a smile. I always knew you were smart. Thank you, I responded briefly. Preparing to leave. Wait, he grabbed my wrist. I have something to ask for your help with. I pulled my hand back. What is it? My grades. As you can see, he looked down at the ground, his foot nervously scuffing the floor. Could you help me with tutoring? Just like before, in my past life, I often tutored him, even sacrificing my own study time to organize notes and explain his mistakes. And how did he repay me? Every time we argued after marriage, he would mock me. Do you think you're so great? If it weren't for my parents forcing me, would I have married a bookworm like you? Sorry, I don't have time. I turned to leave. Just 1 week, no, even 3 days would work, he pleaded urgently, catching up to me. For the sake of us growing up together, Lu Mingchuan. I stopped walking and looked him straight in the eyes. Do you know why I ranked third? Because for the past month, I studied until dawn every day. Gave up all entertainment and social activities, and even felt that talking to you was a waste of time. Do you think I would ruin my own efforts just to help you? His face instantly flushed bright red. How did you become so selfish? This isn't selfishness, it's self-respect, I said calmly. You don't study yourself, so what right do you have to ask others to sacrifice for you? After saying that, I walked away without looking back. My heart was pounding in my chest. Not from nervousness or fear, but from a sense of liberation. I had finally spoken the words I couldn't bring myself to say in my past life. After school, as I was packing my bag to go to the library, an unexpected figure appeared at the classroom door. Su Yuan, Lin Xiaoman, can we talk for a moment? She asked, her voice surprisingly friendly, a stark contrast to the last time we met in the cafeteria. I looked at her warily. What is it? She walked in and sat down in the seat in front of me. First of all, I want to apologize for my attitude last time in the cafeteria. I was in a bad mood. I nodded without saying a word, waiting for her to continue. Secondly, Su Yuan bit her lower lip. I wanted to ask how you study. My grades have always been average, and seeing how quickly you've improved, I really admire you. I looked at her in surprise. In my past life, Su Yuan was, in my memory, a proud campus belle who rarely spoke to anyone other than Lu Mingchuan and his group of admirers, let alone asked for study advice. I just do more practice problems and review my mistakes, I answered cautiously. Could you be more specific? Su Yuan took out a small notebook, looking as if she was ready to take notes seriously. For example, the schedule, what reference books to use. Seeing her sincere gaze, I lowered my guard and briefly shared some study methods. During the conversation, I noticed that Su Yuan was actually very smart. She grasped things quickly, it's just that she probably hadn't put her mind to studying before. By the way, Su Yuan suddenly asked as we were wrapping up the conversation, are you very familiar with Chen Mo? My heart tightened. We're all right. We just studied together a few times. He's my cousin, Su Yuan said with a smile. Although we have different last names, his father and my mother are siblings. My eyes widened. What? He didn't tell you? Su Yuan also looked surprised. I thought you two were very close. We're just study partners. I tried to keep my voice steady, but my mind was in turmoil. Chen Mo and Su Yuan are cousins. Did Chen Mo know about Lu Mingchuan and Su Yuan in our previous life? Did he know what happened to me? Chen Mo is actually a good person. He just isn't very good at expressing himself. Su Yuan continued. He mentioned you to me a few days ago, saying you're quite special. My heart skipped a beat. What did he say about me? He said you study very hard and have unique ways of thinking. Su Yuan blinked. It's not easy to get that kind of praise from him. He hardly ever talks about anyone. I didn't know how to respond, so I pretended to organize my backpack to hide the heat in my face. By the way, Su Yuan stood up, preparing to leave. Lu Mingchuan has been pestering me lately, saying something about me taking responsibility for him. It's so annoying. Do you know what's going on? My hands paused. Take responsibility. It's because last time he injured his foot, I reluctantly helped him to the infirmary, and now he's latched onto me. Su Yuan rolled her eyes. He says since I took care of him, I should keep doing it. It's just ridiculous. I suddenly remembered how Lu Mingchuan and Su Yuan had gotten married abroad in my previous life. I always thought they were mutually in love, but judging by Su Yuan's tone now, it seems that wasn't the case. You don't like him? I asked tentatively. Lu Mingchuan, Su Yuan sneered. Aside from being somewhat good-looking, what other qualities does he have? His grades are average, he's average at sports, and he always acts like he's something special. I plan to study abroad in the future. How could I possibly have anything to do with him? Her words struck my heart like a heavy hammer. If Su Yuan didn't like Lu Mingchuan at all, then why did they get married abroad in their previous life? Did Lu Mingchuan force her, or did he deceive her? Lin Xiaoman, are you okay? Su Yuan looked at me with confusion. I'm fine, I forced a smile, I'm just a little tired. Then you should rest early, Su Yuan said sincerely. Thank you for sharing your study methods. They were really helpful. Watching her retreating figure, I felt a mix of emotions. In my previous life, I had regarded Su Yuan as a love rival and hated her for many years, but now it seems she might have been one of Lu Mingchuan's victims as well. This realization made most of my hostility towards Su Yuan dissipate. On the weekend, Chen Mo and I studied at the library as usual. Several times I wanted to ask him about Su Yuan, but I didn't know how to bring it up. It wasn't until our afternoon break that I finally couldn't hold back anymore. Chen Mo, Su Yuan said you two are cousins. His hand paused on the page as he looked up at me. Yes, why didn't you tell me? I never found the right opportunity to mention it, he said, adjusting his glasses. Besides, is it really that important? I thought about it, and it really isn't that important, it just surprised me. But another question lingered in my mind, then. Do you know that Lu Mingchuan likes Su Yuan? Chen Mo's expression turned a bit strange. I know, many people in the whole school know. Su Yuan said she doesn't like Lu Mingchuan. She really doesn't. Chen Mo closed the book. She likes intelligent and ambitious people, and Lu Mingchuan doesn't meet her standards. Thank you, Chen Mo. I suddenly thanked him sincerely. For what? Thank you for everything, I said with a smile. The notes, the study methods. The tips of Chen Mo's ears turned slightly red. He lowered his head and opened his book. Let's keep studying. There's only 1 month left until the college entrance exam. I nodded and threw myself back into the sea of problems. But my heart was calmer and more resolute than ever before. 05. In the second week after the results of the third mock exam were announced, a subtle atmosphere filled the classroom early Monday morning, during the break. I noticed several classmates frequently glancing at me and Chen Mo, then huddling together and whispering. Li Xiaoqing took advantage of Chen Mo's absence to mysteriously lean over to my desk. Xiaoman, be careful, she lowered her voice. Lu Mingchuan went to find teacher Li after school yesterday, saying that you and Chen Mo are in a puppy-love relationship and it's affecting the class atmosphere. The pen in my hand almost dropped to the floor. What? He made it sound very convincing. Saying you go to the library together every day, and even have private dates on weekends. Li Xiaoqing pouted. Everyone knows he's just jealous that you're doing well in exams and are close to Chen Mo. I clenched my fists, my nails digging deep into my palms. Lu Mingchuan from my past life was just like this. Whenever he noticed any sign of me slipping from his control, he would do everything to ruin it. I just never expected he would resort to such childish methods. Thanks for the reminder. I forced a smile at Li Xiaoqing. But we really are just studying together. Of course I know. Li Xiaoqing patted my shoulder. But teacher Li might want to talk to you too, so be mentally prepared. The class bell rang, and Mr. Li walked into the classroom carrying a stack of test papers. I stole a glance at Lu Mingchuan. He was sitting upright, a smug smile playing on his lips. From time to time, he would glance back at me, his eyes filled with provocation. Before handing out the test papers, I have a few things to say. Mr. Li set down the papers and scanned the classroom, his gaze finally settling on Lu Mingchuan. Recently, some students have reported to me that there are early romantic relationships happening in our class. The classroom instantly erupted in an uproar. I felt my face grow hot, while Chen Mo remained expressionless, though the pen in his hand paused for a moment. I believe, teacher Li continued, his voice steady and firm. During the final sprint for the college entrance exams, every student should focus on their own studies instead of meddling in others' normal interactions. Lu Mingchuan's smile froze on his face. Some students would be better off spending more time reviewing their own exam papers rather than keeping an eye on others. Teacher Li pulled out a test paper from the stack. For example, in this third mock exam, someone dropped from the top 100 in the grade to beyond 200th place. Yet still has the energy to worry about whether others go to the library. The entire class's gaze turned in unison toward Lu Mingchuan, his face instantly flushing bright red, the veins on his neck clearly visible. Now, I'll hand out the exam papers. Without further ado, teacher Li began calling names. Chen Mo, 148 points. first in the grade. As Chen Mo stepped forward to collect his paper, Teacher Li patted him on the shoulder and said, "Keep it up, Lin Xiaoman, 143 points. Third in the grade." As I walked up to the podium, Teacher Li gave me a slight smile. "Great improvement." I took the exam paper, and the weight in my heart finally lifted. While walking back to my seat, I accidentally met Lu Mingchuan's gaze. His eyes were burning with anger and resentment, but I calmly looked away. When the class ended, students left the classroom in small groups to eat. I deliberately took my time packing up, waiting until everyone had left before getting up. Unexpectedly, Lu Mingchuan suddenly stopped me at the corner of the hallway. "Satisfied," he said through gritted teeth. "Now the whole class is laughing at me. You brought this upon yourself," I said coldly. "Chen Mo and I are just study partners. What right do you have to slander us?" "Study partner," Lu Mingchuan sneered. "The whole class can tell he likes you. So what?" I met his gaze directly. "Who I date is my freedom, and it's not for you to interfere." He suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Lin Xiaoman, you've changed. You never used to treat me like this before. Let go." I struggled free with force. "Lu Mingchuan, wake up. I'm not that foolish girl who revolved around you anymore. I have my own life, my own goals. And you," I deliberately looked him up and down, "you even messed up your third mock exam. And you still have time to meddle in other people's business." His face instantly turned ashen, as if he'd been stabbed in the chest. I turned and walked away, my heart pounding in my chest, but my steps were unusually firm. Turning the corner, I almost bumped into someone. Chen Mo. He stood against the wall, holding 2 exercise books in his hand, clearly having heard the entire conversation just now. "Sorry." I lowered my head awkwardly. "No need to apologize." He handed me one of the exercise books. "Are you still going to the library this weekend?" I looked up at him. The sunlight streamed through the corridor window, casting a bright outline around him. His expression remained calm, but his eyes held a warmth I had never seen before. "Let's go." I took the exercise book, a smile unconsciously curling at the corners of my mouth. "Of course I'll go." We walked side by side back to the classroom for evening self-study, neither of us mentioning what had just happened. Under the astonished gazes of our classmates, we confidently returned to our seats. "Now, no one can stand in the way of my goal." 06, 2 weeks before the college entrance exam, the air was thick with tension and anticipation. The classroom was no longer filled with idle chatter and playful noise. Even during breaks, it was so quiet that you could only hear the sound of pages turning and pens writing. I buried myself in a sea of practice questions, completing 3 sets of past papers every day, organizing my mistake notebook, and memorizing key knowledge points. The notes Chen Mo gave me had become frayed from constant use, covered densely with my annotations. "Lin Xiaoman, the homeroom teacher wants you to go to the office." Class monitor Li Xiaoqing called out from the doorway. I put down my pen, rubbed my sore wrist, and headed toward the teacher's office. On the way, I passed by the infirmary. The door was half open, and I caught a glimpse of Lu Mingchuan sitting inside. The school doctor was taking his blood pressure. His face was pale, with heavy dark circles under his eyes, and he looked utterly exhausted. "Since the results of the third mock exam came out, Lu Mingchuan's condition has been getting worse. I heard his parents were very dissatisfied with his grades and hired 3 tutors to tutor him in rotation, but it had little effect. A few times when I was studying late in the library, I saw him running alone on the playground, venting his emotions frantically." Report. I gently knocked on the office door. "Come in." Homeroom teacher Li looked up and saw me, a smile appearing on his face. "Lin Xiaoman, have a seat." I sat in the chair opposite her and noticed my college application form spread open on the desk, with Capital Medical University, Clinical Medicine clearly written as my first choice. "I've reviewed your application, and it shows great ambition." Teacher Li adjusted his glasses. "With your current grades, as long as you perform normally, getting into Capital Medical University shouldn't be a problem." I nodded, my heart racing. The dream from my past life was finally within reach in this one. However, Teacher Li changed his tone. I've heard you've been studying very intensively lately. Some classmates mentioned you often stay at the library until closing time and are the first to arrive in the classroom in the morning. I pursed my lips. The college entrance exam is approaching, and I want to push myself a bit harder. Effort is good, but it should be in moderation. Teacher Lee's voice softened. Health is the foundation of everything. Especially since you want to study medicine, you should understand this principle. I looked down at my hands, the knuckles slightly red from writing for long periods, and my nails trimmed very short. I understand, teacher. I will make sure to rest, by the way. Teacher Lee suddenly seemed to remember something. Lu Mingchuan's parents came to see me yesterday, hoping you could help tutor him. I know you two grew up together. I looked up abruptly. Teacher, I refuse. Mr. Lee seemed not to have expected me to be so straightforward. His situation is indeed quite difficult, and his grades have been continuously declining. Teacher, I took a deep breath. It's not that I'm unwilling to help a classmate, but we're in the final sprint now. And every minute is precious. Lu Mingchuan has private tutors and his parents' support, while I can only rely on myself. Mr. Lee looked at me for a long time and finally nodded. You're right, I didn't think it through properly. Focus on preparing for the college entrance exam. I believe you can achieve good results. Leaving the office, I let out a long sigh. In my past life, I would have agreed to such a request without hesitation, even feeling it was my duty. But now, I have finally learned to put my own needs first. On my way home from school, I was stopped by Lu Mingchuan's parents at the school gate. Xiao Man, please, I'm begging you. Lu Mingchuan's mother held my hand. Her eyes red. Mingchuan's current grades are even at risk of not making it into a second-tier university. Please help him. For the sake of growing up together, I gently withdrew my hand and said, Auntie, I'm sorry, but I really don't have the time. We can pay. Lu Mingchuan's father said urgently, 200 an hour. No, 300. I shook my head. It's not about the money. The college entrance exam is approaching, and I need to focus all my efforts on preparing for it. How can you be so selfish? Mother Lu's voice suddenly turned sharp. Mingchuan has been so good to you, protecting you since you were kids, and this is how you repay him now. I looked at her quietly, suddenly remembering what she said when she visited me in the hospital after my amputation in my previous life. Xiao Man, don't worry, our Lu family will take responsibility. Mingchuan will take care of you for life. At the time, I thought it was concern, but later I realized it was just guilt and charity. After marriage, they allowed Lu Mingchuan to subject me to emotional abuse and even repeatedly urged me to become a surrogate mother. Ha, how ridiculous, Auntie, I said calmly. Lu Mingchuan has professional tutors, and I'm just a student. You should trust the professionals instead of placing your hopes on me. After saying that, I bowed slightly and turned to leave, ignoring their shouts behind me. Only after turning the corner did I realize my hands were trembling, and I had to stop and take a few deep breaths to calm down. When I got home, Mom was in the kitchen preparing dinner. I put down my backpack, hesitated for a moment, but still told her about meeting Lu Mingchuan's parents. Mom put down the kitchen knife and wiped her hands. They called me this afternoon too. What? I widened my eyes. Mom sighed. I turned them down directly. Your main task right now is to focus on preparing for the exam. How could you have time to tutor others? I walked over and hugged Mom. Thanks, Mom. Silly child. Mom patted my back. It was my fault before, always asking you to take care of Mingchuan, thinking that girls should be sensible and considerate. Now I understand that you need to take responsibility for your own life first. My nose tingled with emotion, and I buried my face in my mom's shoulder. In my previous life, my mom had also held me like this, crying and saying I'm sorry after my amputation. But by then, it was already too late. 07. After dinner, I received a call from Chen Mo, asking me to meet him on the school rooftop. This was the first time we weren't meeting at the library study spot, and I was a bit puzzled, but I still went as scheduled. On an early summer night, a gentle breeze swept across the rooftop, and the distant city lights twinkled like stars. Chen Mo leaned against the railing, looking up at the night sky. He's here. He heard the footsteps and turned to look at me. Is something the matter? I walked over to him and asked curiously. He handed me a bottle of warm milk. Relax a bit. You've been too tense lately. I took the milk and took small sips. The warm liquid slid down my throat, soothing the fatigue of the day. Thank you. I smiled at him. I am indeed a bit tired. Look, Chen Mo suddenly pointed at the sky, the Big Dipper. I followed the direction he was pointing and saw 7 bright stars forming the shape of a ladle in the night sky. That over there is the Aquila constellation. Chen Mo's voice sounded particularly gentle in the night, and the brightest star in the middle is Altair. I looked at him in surprise. You also study astronomy? Just occasionally. He pushed up his glasses. When I was a kid, my dad often took me stargazing and told me the universe is vast, and human worries are small. I gazed up at the vast starry sky, suddenly feeling that my anxiety and stress were indeed insignificant, no matter what the college entrance exam results were. This wouldn't be the end of my life. Chen Mo, I asked softly, why do you want to study medicine? He was silent for a moment. My mother had congenital heart disease and passed away last year. That's when I decided to become a cardiac surgeon. My heart tightened. I'm sorry, I didn't know. It's okay. He shook his head. What about you? Why surgery? I looked at the distant lights, and memories of my past life flooded back. I once dreamed of losing my legs. I know that despair and helplessness. If I could become a surgeon, perhaps I could help more people like me. This is the first time since my rebirth that I've spoken to someone about my past life, even if I used a dream as an excuse. The night concealed my slightly trembling hands. Chen Mo didn't press further, only softly uttering an mm. We stood side by side like this, gazing at the starry sky, each lost in our own thoughts. A strange tranquility and unspoken understanding flowed between us. Good luck with the college entrance exam, Chen Mo suddenly said as we parted. I nodded. You too. The following days felt like they were on fast forward, repeating the cycle of doing problems, correcting mistakes, and reviewing every day. My error notebook grew thinner while my confidence grew stronger. 3 days before the college entrance exam, the school gave us a break for self-study. I was organizing the final key points at home when I suddenly received a call from Su Yuan, Lin Xiaoman. Her voice sounded a bit hurried. Lu Mingchuan just asked me if we could meet after school, saying he has something important to give me. I refused, but he seems determined to wait for me near my house. My heart sank abruptly. On this very day in my previous life, I was hit by a car while delivering a love letter from Lu Mingchuan to Su Yuan. He probably wanted to deliver the love letter to you himself, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. This is so annoying, Su Yuan complained. I've clearly rejected him several times. By the way, my cousin said if you're free, would you like to go to the library together tomorrow for a final review? Okay, I agreed, but after hanging up, I fell into deep thought. Lu Mingchuan is going to deliver the love letter himself. History seems to be repeating itself, only with the roles reversed. If he goes to deliver the love letter, will he get into a car accident like I did in my previous life? Should I warn him? My finger hovered over Lu Mingchuan's name in the phone contacts, but I couldn't bring myself to tap it. The cruel words he said to me in my past life echoed in my ears. You're just a cripple. How could you ever compare to Yuan? If you hadn't meddled by delivering that love letter and gotten into a car accident, why would I have been forced to marry you? I locked my phone screen and picked up my pen again to continue studying. Everyone has the right to choose their own path and must also be responsible for their choices. This time, I chose to focus on my future. The Gaokao arrived as scheduled. I sat in the examination room, feeling surprisingly calm. After the test papers were distributed, I concentrated fully on answering the questions, forgetting the time, everything around me, and even that I was a reborn person. At this moment, I was just an ordinary student, fighting hard for my dreams. When the bell rang, signaling the end of the last exam, I put down my pen and let out a long sigh of relief. It was over. No matter the outcome, I had given it my all. Stepping out of the exam hall, the sunlight was blindingly bright. Mom was waiting for me at the school gate, holding a bouquet of sunflowers. Congratulations on finishing your Gaokao, my daughter. She hugged me, the scent of flowers lingering in my nose. Mom, did Lu Mingchuan take the college entrance exam? I hesitated for a moment before asking. Mom's expression turned complicated. He had a bit of an accident. He was hit by a car the night before last. His right leg was seriously injured, and the surgery took several hours. Although I had a premonition, hearing the news firsthand still sent a shock through my heart. The gears of fate meshed so precisely. But this time the wheel ran over Lu Mingchuan instead of me. Is it serious? I asked softly. I heard he might have to have his leg amputated. Mom sighed. His parents are almost falling apart. He's their only son. I didn't say anything, just held my mother tightly. If I hadn't been reborn, it would have been my parents who were breaking down now. After returning home, I locked myself in my room, lying on the bed and staring at the ceiling. Logically, I should have felt the thrill of revenge, but strangely, I only felt a deep exhaustion and relief. Lu Mingchuan had already paid the price for his choice, and I could finally truly move forward. 08, 3 days after the college entrance exam ended. My mother finally told me the details of Lu Mingchuan's post-surgery condition. He had his right lower leg amputated. She said, "Cutting fruit, I heard he's not recovering well. There might be an infection." I put down my book. "Should we go see him?" Mom looked at me, surprised. "You want to go? After all, he's a neighbor, and we grew up together," I said calmly. Basic courtesy is still important. That afternoon, I went to the hospital with my parents. Lu Mingchuan's room was filled with flowers and fruit baskets. But his parents looked as if they had aged 10 years. Lu Mingchuan lay on the hospital bed, his right leg covered by a white blanket, noticeably shorter than the other. "Xiaoman." His eyes lit up when he saw me, but then dimmed again. "How did your exams go?" "All right," I answered briefly, placing the fruit I brought on the nightstand. "How do you feel?" He let out a bitter laugh. "What else can I do? I'm just a useless person now." "Don't say that," Mother Lu interjected with red-rimmed eyes. "The doctor said you'll still be able to walk after getting a prosthetic limb." Lu Mingchuan didn't respond to that, just looked at me and said, "You must have done really well." "Right, after all, you studied so hard." I didn't deny it. "We'll know when the results come out. I didn't even take the college entrance exam." His voice choked with emotion. "My life is over." The atmosphere in the hospital room was so heavy it felt suffocating. My parents and Lu Mingchuan's parents exchanged pleasantries, while I stood to the side, watching this once high-spirited young man now lying in bed, full of self-pity. I had experienced this kind of despair in my past life too. But at least now I had a second chance. "Why didn't you come to see me before?" During a lull in the adults' conversation, Lu Mingchuan suddenly asked me in a low voice. "On the day of my accident, I kept calling your name." I looked directly into his eyes. "Lu Mingchuan, we're not friends anymore, remember?" His face instantly turned ashen. "Just because I won't let you associate with Chen Mo, you're so heartless." "No, because you looked down on me, used me, and never truly respected me." I said calmly, "Get well soon. I wish you a speedy recovery." When leaving the hospital, my mother looked at me with concern. "Xiaoman, between you and Mingchuan." "Mom," I interrupted her, "he and I haven't been on the same path for a long time." Mother hesitated to speak, but in the end, she just sighed and said nothing more. On the day the college entrance exam results were announced, I sat in front of the computer early in the morning, my finger hovering over the query button. My mother stood nervously behind me, while my father pretended to calmly read the newspaper, but glanced at the computer screen every 3 seconds. "Check it." My father finally couldn't hold back and said. I took a deep breath and clicked the query button. The moment the page refreshed, my eyes went straight to the total score, 708 points, ranked 66th in the province. "Ah!" Mom shrieked, hugging me. "My daughter is amazing." Dad threw down his newspaper and wrapped both of us in a hug. "Well done. First medical university is a sure thing." I sat there, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably. 708 points. That was a score I wouldn't have even dared to dream of in my previous life. All the effort and persistence since my rebirth had paid off at this moment. The following days were filled with joy and busyness, submitting college applications, preparing enrollment materials, accepting congratulations from relatives and friends. My phone was flooded with congratulatory messages, and even distant relatives I hadn't been in contact with for years called to offer their congratulations. Xiaoman, we're planning to hold a college acceptance celebration. Mom suggested one evening during dinner. How about inviting all our relatives and friends to celebrate? Sounds good, I replied with a smile. But let's not make it too extravagant. How can we not make it grand? Mom's eyes lit up. You're the only one in our neighborhood who got into Capital Medical University in years, and you ranked in the top 100 in the entire province. The college celebration banquet was scheduled for the weekend at a hotel banquet hall. That day, I wore a simple white dress with my hair tied up in a high ponytail, looking neat and tidy. The banquet hall was filled with people, relatives, neighbors, teachers, classmates. Xiaoman, congratulations, Li Xiaoqing walked in holding a bouquet of flowers. You and Chen Mo got the best scores in our class. You've really made our class proud. I took the flowers and looked around. Has Chen Mo arrived? I just saw him outside. Li Xiaoqing winked. It looks like he wants to talk to you alone. My heart suddenly raced, and I excused myself to go to the restroom. Stepping out of the banquet hall, Chen Mo was indeed standing by the window in the corridor, the sunlight streaming through the glass and casting a bright outline around him. Congratulations, he said with a slight smile when he saw me. You're definitely getting into Capital Medical University. Yeah, I walked over to his side. What about you? Have you decided on Capital University? He nodded. Impressive, I said sincerely. We were silent for a moment. Then he suddenly turned to face me. Lin Xiaoman, I have something I want to tell you. What? I looked up at him and noticed the tips of his ears were slightly red. He took a deep breath. I like you. Not as a study partner, but, Chen Mo, I interrupted softly, we're still too young. We haven't experienced enough. It's easy to mistake friendship for love. His expression froze. Am I being rejected? Not a rejection. I weighed my words carefully. It's just that I think we should focus on our studies first. The academic pressure in medical school is intense, and long-distance relationships are even harder, if our feelings haven't changed in a few years. Can we talk about this then? To be honest, I wasn't completely without feelings for Chen Mo, but the emotional wounds from my past life made me hesitant to start a new relationship so easily. I needed time, I needed space, I needed to become a better version of myself first. Chen Mo looked at me for a long time, then finally nodded. I understand, but I'll wait. My heart ached as he turned and walked away, but I knew it was the right decision. Back in the banquet hall, the joyful atmosphere immediately enveloped me. Classmates gathered around asking all sorts of questions, while teachers took turns coming over to congratulate me. Amid the laughter and chatter, I noticed a lonely figure in the corner, Lu Mingchuan. He sat in a wheelchair, his right pant leg hanging empty, with no one talking to him, not even looking his way. In my previous life, I would always rush to his side at such events, afraid he would feel lonely. But now, I choose to remain among the crowd, accepting the blessings and glory that belong to me. As the banquet was drawing to a close, Lu Mingchuan wheeled his chair to block my path. Are you satisfied? He asked, his voice hoarse. Seeing me like this, are you happy? I looked at him calmly. I don't understand what you mean. You could have stopped me. His eyes were bloodshot. If you had agreed to help me deliver the love letter earlier, none of this would have happened. My heart skipped a beat. Lu Mingchuan, you're still so selfish. I gave a scornful laugh and turned to walk toward my waiting parents. Behind me, Lu Mingchuan's hysterical shouts were quickly drowned out by the music and laughter from the banquet hall. Are you all right? Mom asked worriedly. What did he say? Nothing. I linked arms with my mother. Let's go home. Stepping out of the hotel, the summer night sky was exceptionally bright. I looked up, searching for the Big Dipper, and remembered my conversation with Chen Mo on the rooftop. No matter what the future holds, at least at this moment, my life is moving in the right direction. The admission letter from Capital Medical University arrived a week later, holding that weighty envelope. I gently traced the gilded school name with my fingers as tears blurred my vision. The unattainable dream of a past life has finally come true in this one. 09. The ginkgo leaves at Capital Medical University have turned yellow and green and yellow, 10 autumns fleeting in an instant. I stood in front of the surgical resident bulletin board at the teaching hospital, my fingers gently tracing the notice printed with my name and photo, Lin Xiaoman, orthopedic resident. Sunlight streamed through the corridor window onto the paper, and that light seemed to shine directly into my heart. Dr. Lin, congratulations. Head nurse Sister Wang walked over with a smile. I heard you turned down an offer from Johns Hopkins. That's an opportunity many people only dream of. I smiled and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. Good orthopedic doctors are more needed in China. Over the past 10 years, Chen Mo and I have maintained an on-again, off-again connection. He completed a dual degree in medicine and biology at Capital University and is now pursuing an MD PhD at Harvard. We occasionally discuss academic issues on WeChat or recommend the latest medical papers to each other. Whenever he returns to China, we meet at a coffee shop near our alma mater and chat for a few hours. Dr. Lin, operating room 3 is ready. Intern Xiao Zhong poked his head in to inform me. I nodded and quickly made my way to the operating room. Today's procedure was a complex knee replacement surgery for a 70-year-old retired teacher, scrubbing in, disinfecting, and donning surgical gowns. These steps had become as natural to me as breathing, under the shadowless lamp. The moment the scalpel cut through the skin, I still felt a sacred sense of mission. Every time I wielded the scalpel, it was a redemption for my past self, who had lost both legs. The surgery lasted 3 hours and was successfully completed. Stepping out of the operating room, I removed my mask and let out a long sigh. A nurse handed me my phone, which showed 3 missed calls, all from Chen Mo. I called back, and the phone was answered almost immediately. Xiaoman. Chen Mo's voice came through the line. I'm back in the country. Sounds good. I'll treat you to a meal. I walked toward the doctor's lounge and poured myself a glass of water. Do you know about Su Yuan and Lu Mingchuan? He paused. They got married. My hand trembled, and I almost dropped my water glass. What? It happened last year. Su Yuan was forced into it. The Lu family threatened to sue her for causing Lu Mingchuan's car accident if she didn't marry him. Chen Mo's voice carried suppressed anger. That whole family is shameless. They just wouldn't let go. Su Yuan's parents were afraid of trouble and pressured her into agreeing. I leaned against the wall, Su Yuan's once confident and spirited face appearing before my eyes. The scenes from the past life overlapped with the present, only the roles were completely reversed. How is she now? I asked softly. Not well at all. Chen Mo sighed. Lu Mingchuan's leg injury never fully recovered. He often needs surgery. His personality has become very irritable, and he treats Su Yuan not very well. I only found out about this recently. My fingernails unconsciously dug into my palms. After hanging up the phone, I stood by the window gazing at the distant city skyline. 10 years had passed, and I thought I had completely let go of the past, but hearing this news still brought a dull ache to my chest, not for Lu Mingchuan, but for Su Yuan, the girl I thought was my love rival in my past life, only to realize in this life that she was also a victim. After work, instead of heading straight home, I drove to my alma mater high school. It was dismissal time on campus, and students in uniforms were laughing and pouring out of the teaching building. Their youthful faces filled with anticipation for the future. Standing by the playground, I seemed to catch a glimpse of my younger self. That foolish girl who used to run around for Lu Mingchuan. Xiaoman, is that really you? A familiar voice called from behind. I turned around and saw our homeroom teacher, Ms. Li. The wrinkles at the corners of her eyes had deepened, but her smile was still as warm as ever. Ms. Li, I greeted her with pleasant surprise. I heard you've become an orthopedic surgeon. I'm so proud of you. She held my hands and looked me up and down. The little girl who suddenly had an epiphany in class back then has truly realized her dream. My nose tingled with emotion. It's all thanks to your encouragement. Come, let's go to my office and sit for a bit. Teacher Li warmly invited. Coincidentally, next month the school wants to invite a few outstanding alumni back to give lectures. Are you interested? Following Teacher Li through the familiar corridor, my gaze unconsciously drifted towards my old senior year classroom. Through the window, I seemed to see Chen Mo's profile as he lowered his head to take notes, and the scene of Lu Mingchuan turning around to smile at me. Those memories had become so distant. As if they were someone else's story. Teacher Lee's office was filled with graduation photos from over the years. I found our class photo, my fingers gently tracing those young faces. Lu Mingchuan stood in the last row, his smile radiant. Su Yuan was in the center of the front row, dazzlingly beautiful. Chen Mo was diagonally behind me, his expression serious, and I could hardly recognize that shyly smiling girl anymore. Have you heard about Lu Mingchuan? Teacher Lee handed me a cup of tea and suddenly asked. I nodded. I just heard he got married. That child has changed a lot. Teacher Lee sighed. After the car accident, he became a completely different person. He came to the class reunion last year, sitting in a wheelchair, ordering Su Yuan around. It was truly heartbreaking to see. Who do you feel sorry for? I asked softly. Everyone feels heartbroken. Teacher Lee looked at me with sorrowful eyes. That girl Su Yuan. She used to be so proud back in the day, but now all her spirit has been worn away, and Lu Mingchuan too, from a sunny young man to this state. I lowered my head, looking at my reflection in the teacup, and said nothing. Hadn't I been the same in my past life? From a high school student full of dreams to a resentful woman trapped in a wheelchair and a failed marriage, but seeing you like this now, I'm truly happy. Teacher Lee patted my hand. You proved that no matter what you encounter, people can choose to stand up and move forward. 10. By the time I left school, the sun had already set. I stood at the school gate, taking one last look back at the building that held so many memories. No matter what lay ahead, at least at this moment, I was no longer the pathetic pawn I once was. My phone rang again. It was the emergency room number from the hospital. Dr. Lin, there's a complex case that requires your consultation. The on-duty doctor's voice was urgent. The patient has a severe infection in an old injury on the right leg, accompanied by osteomyelitis, and may need emergency surgery. I'll be right back. I quickly walked toward the parking lot. Back at the hospital, I went straight to the consultation room. Through the glass window, I saw several doctors gathered inside. The person sitting on the hospital bed had their back to the door, but I recognized that figure at a glance. Even after 10 years apart, I would never mistake it. Lu Mingchuan. My hand paused on the doorknob for a second before I pushed the door open. Dr. Lin is here. Chief Physician Professor Wang greeted me. This patient had his right lower leg amputated 10 years ago, and the stump has been repeatedly infected over the past 6 months. Multiple surgeries at other hospitals have had poor results. Considering your expertise in complex bone trauma and infections, would like to hear your opinion. I walked up to the hospital bed and finally got a clear look at Lu Mingchuan's face. He was much thinner than I remembered, with heavy dark circles under his eyes, downturned corners of his mouth, and an overall gloomy aura. The moment he saw me, his eyes widened instantly, and his lips trembled. But no words came out. Let me see the medical records, I said calmly, taking the folder handed to me by the resident physician and flipping through it professionally. Lin, Xiaoman. Lu Mingchuan finally found his voice. You became a doctor. Dr. Lin is the youngest attending orthopedic surgeon at our hospital, Professor Wang proudly introduced. I pretended not to notice Lu Mingchuan's shocked expression and focused on the medical records. The situation was indeed complex. Multiple failed surgeries, drug-resistant bacterial infections, necrotic tissue at the stump. A single misstep could lead to a second amputation or even endanger his life. Immediate surgical debridement is needed, along with sensitive antibiotics. I closed the medical record. If the infection isn't well controlled, we may need to consider a higher-level amputation. No, Lu Mingchuan suddenly became agitated. No more amputations. I've already. His voice choked up, and his eyes frantically searched for something. Just then, the door of the consultation room was pushed open, and a haggard woman hurried in, holding a stack of payment slips. It was Su Yuan. I could hardly recognize her. Her once glossy black long hair had been cut into a dry, short style. Her eyes had lost their sparkle, the corners of her mouth drooped, and her entire being seemed drained of vitality. When she saw me, she visibly froze for a moment before lowering her head and silently moving to stand beside Lu Mingchuan. This is the patient's family member, the resident doctor introduced. My wife, Lu Mingchuan emphasized. While looking at me with a strange expression, as if both challenging and expecting something, I nodded and turned professionally to Su Yuan. The patient's condition is quite serious and requires immediate surgery. As a family member, please sign the surgical consent form. Su Yuan took the document. Her fingers trembling slightly, she glanced up at me, a complex emotion flashing in her eyes, then silently signed her name. The surgery is scheduled for the first slot tomorrow morning. I told the team, administer stronger antibiotics tonight and monitor temperature and blood counts. After the consultation ended, I quickly walked toward my office, my heart pounding violently in my chest. It's been 10 years. I never expected we would reunite under such circumstances. What's more, seeing Lu Mingchuan and Su Yuan in their current state, I felt not a trace of satisfaction in my heart, only a profound sadness. Dr. Lin, a voice called out to me, turning around. I saw Su Yuan catching up, out of breath. Something wrong? I stopped. She bit her lip, seemingly struggling with what to say. Finally, she just whispered, "Please, perform the surgery well for him." Although he, after all, Su Yuan, I interrupted her. I'm a doctor, no matter who the patient is. I will do my best to treat them, it's professional ethics. She lifted her head, tears in her eyes. Thank you, and, I'm sorry. Why apologize? For everything. Her voice was so soft it was almost inaudible. I don't know, maybe it's my retribution. I took a deep breath. That wasn't your fault. Looking at the poor girl who had been emotionally manipulated by Lu Mingchuan for half her life, she looked at me in surprise, as if she hadn't expected me to say that. Go back and rest. I handed her a tissue. Tomorrow's surgery will be very long. As I turned to leave, I suddenly remembered something and looked back to ask, "Does Chen Mo know you're in the hospital?" She shook her head. "Don't tell him. I don't want him to worry." That night, I tossed and turned in the hospital duty room. At 3 in the morning, I got up to check on Lu Mingchuan in the ward. He was half leaning on the bed, staring blankly at the night outside the window. When he saw me come in, his eyes lit up. "Xiaoman, I knew you would come." "Routine rounds," I said calmly, checking his foreign vital signs. "You know what?" His voice was hoarse. "I've thought about you every day for the past 10 years. I regret not cherishing you back then." My hand paused for a moment, then I continued to record the data from the monitor. "I'm truly happy for you. Seeing how accomplished you are now." He reached out to take my hand, but I deftly avoided him. "Please remain emotionally stable. As it is very important for the surgery," I said in a businesslike manner. "Don't be like this." His voice carried a plea. "I know you hate me, but I truly know I was wrong. I married Su Yuan because my parents forced me to. I don't love her at all." I looked up at him and suddenly felt it was utterly absurd. This was almost a carbon copy of the excuses he had given Su Yuan in our past life, only with the roles reversed. "You know," I said softly, "I once had an amputation." He froze. "What?" "In another time and space, in another life." I calmly met his gaze and said, "I got into a car accident while delivering your love letter to Su Yuan, lost my right leg, and missed the college entrance exam. Out of guilt, your parents forced you to marry me. But you hated me to the core and eventually abandoned me to go abroad with Su Yuan." His face turned ashen. What are you talking about?" "You know what I'm talking about." I took out my phone and quietly pressed the record button. "Lu Mingchuan, no matter in which timeline, you always shift the blame onto others. Do you really think you're completely faultless?" His breathing became rapid. I didn't. You were the one who insisted on giving Su Yuan that love letter. So why are you denying it now?" "Yes, I was blinded back then. But now I realize it's you I love. Now it's your turn to taste that feeling." I took a step closer. Trapped in an incomplete body, dependent on someone who doesn't love you. Living in regret every day. How does it feel, Xiaoman? Tears welled up in his eyes. "Please, forgive me. Give me a chance. I'll divorce Su Yuan. I'll provide you with the best medical care." I took a step back, because that's my professional duty. But beyond that, there's nothing left between us. After saying this, I turned and left. The moment I closed the door, I heard his suppressed sobbing. In the hallway, I stopped walking, saved the recording I had just made, and sent it to Su Yuan with a message. "You deserve to know the truth. and you deserve a better life. 11. On the day of the surgery, I arrived at the hospital an hour early. In front of the bathroom mirror, I carefully wash my hands and scrub them, mechanically repeating actions I have performed thousands of times. The cold water flows over my arms, washing away the last trace of hesitation and doubt. Today, I am not Lin Xiaoman, but Dr. Lin, a professional orthopedic surgeon. The operating room is ready, the anesthesiologist, the scrub nurse, and the circulating nurse are all in their positions. Under the shadowless lamp, Lu Mingchuan lies quietly on the operating table, already under anesthesia. Surgery begins, I announced, reaching for the scalpel the nurse handed me. The moment the blade cut through the skin, my world narrowed to just this surgical field, the infected tissue, the damaged bone. The remnants of sutures, all the issues are laid out clearly before my eyes. The combination of 10 years of medical training and the personal experiences from my past life has given me an extraordinary understanding of this type of trauma. Electrocautery, I held out my hand, and the scrub nurse precisely placed the instrument into it. The surgery lasted 6 hours. We thoroughly cleared the infected necrotic tissue, repaired the damaged bone structure, and preserved as much of the limb length as possible. By the time the last stitch was completed, my surgical gown was soaked with sweat. The surgery went well, I announced, straightening up, tired but satisfied. Send him to recovery, monitor vital signs closely. Walking out of the operating room, I ran straight into Su Yuan, who was anxiously waiting. She looked as if she hadn't slept all night, her eyes red and swollen, clutching a crumpled tissue tightly in her hand. How did it go? She asked eagerly. The surgery was successful. I took off my mask. The source of infection has been cleared, and the limb has been saved, but long-term rehabilitation will still be needed. Her shoulders slumped all at once, as if she had finally been relieved of a heavy burden. Thank you, really, thank you so much. Don't thank me, I rubbed my tired brow. It's my job. Hesitantly, I still asked the question. The recording, did you listen to it? Su Yuan nodded. A flicker of pain in her eyes. I did, actually. I didn't need to hear it to know. Ever since we got married, he often calls your name in his sleep, then scolds me for not being you. My heart felt as if it had been pricked by a needle. Su Yuan, you don't have to live like this, I know, she gave a bitter smile. But my parents are afraid of the Lu family's retaliation, and I don't know what to do. Does Chen Mo know about your situation? She shook her head. I don't want him to worry. He's busy enough on his own abroad. Fool, I couldn't help but say. Family is meant to be relied on during times like these. Chen Mo would be truly heartbroken if he knew you were suffering like this and didn't tell him. Su Yuan's tears finally fell. I really can't hold on anymore. I took her to the doctor's lounge and poured her a cup of hot water. She intermittently recounted her experiences over the past 10 years, being forced into marriage, giving up the opportunity to study abroad, taking care of the moody Lu Mingchuan day and night, and enduring the harsh words and cold treatment from Lu's parents. They think I'm the one who harmed Lu Mingchuan, Su Yuan said, wiping her tears. They say if I hadn't rejected his love letter that night, he wouldn't have gotten into the car accident. That's not your fault, I said firmly. Everyone must take responsibility for their own choices. Lu Mingchuan chose to speed on that rainy day, and the consequences should naturally be borne by himself. Su Yuan looked up at me, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Do you really think so? Of course. I held her cold hand. Su Yuan, you're only 28, you still have a long life ahead of you. Don't repeat the mistakes of certain people. I want a divorce. Su Yuan suddenly said, her voice soft but firm. But the Lu family won't agree. They said if I dare to divorce, they'll make it impossible for my parents to stay in this city. I thought for a moment, then suddenly had an idea. What if we had evidence of Lu Mingchuan's emotional abuse, like a recording? Su Yuan's eyes lit up. You mean, I sent you the recording yesterday, and combined with his usual verbal abuse towards you, it's enough to apply for a protection order and file for divorce. I said, I can help you contact a lawyer, and Chen Mo will definitely support you too. Xiaoman, Su Yuan's tears welled up again. Why are you helping me? Even though because we are both victims, I said softly, and besides, it's a doctor's duty to be compassionate. 12. 3 days later, Lu Mingchuan fully regained consciousness from the anesthesia. When I went on rounds, he was half sitting on the bed, gazing at the sunlight outside the window with a complicated expression. Su Yuan wasn't in the ward. She had already taken the recording I provided and the documents prepared by the lawyer to file for divorce. The surgery was successful, I said as I examined his wound. If the recovery goes well, you can get a new prosthetic limb in 2 months. Lu Mingchuan turned to look at me, his eyes showing a vulnerability and confusion I had never seen before. Su Yuan is gone. I continued with what I was doing without stopping. She said she wants a divorce. His voice trembled, said she's never coming back. I didn't respond, continuing to record his vital signs. Xiaoman. He suddenly grabbed my wrist. I really have nothing left now. Please, give me a chance. Okay, I swear I will. Lu Mingchuan. I calmly withdrew my hand. Have I ever told you how you treated me in another timeline? When I needed you the most, you chose someone else. His face suddenly lost all color. Now you understand the pain I felt then. I looked him straight in the eyes. But that doesn't mean I'll repeat your mistakes. I have my own life, my own career, my people I care about. Chen Mo. He gave a bitter smile. It's him, as expected. That's none of your business. I closed the medical record book. Get some good rest. Rehabilitation training starts tomorrow. Stepping out of the hospital room, I let out a long sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden I had carried for years had finally been lifted. The thrill of revenge, no. All I felt was a profound sense of release. Everything from my past life had finally come to a close at this moment. My phone vibrated. It was a message from Chen Mo. Su Yuan has told me everything. Thank you for your help. When are you free? I'd like to see you, I replied. After Lu Mingchuan is discharged from the hospital, I want to focus on completing this treatment. A month later, Lu Mingchuan's wounds had healed well enough for him to be transferred to a rehabilitation center. The divorce proceedings had also been initiated, and Su Yuan temporarily stayed in the U.S., preparing to reapply for her interrupted studies. On the day Lu Mingchuan was discharged from the hospital, his parents came to pick him up. When Lu's mother saw me, a flicker of embarrassment and shame passed through her eyes. Dr. Lin, she began hesitantly. Thank you for curing my son. Before, I shook my head. I just did what a doctor should do. As I turned to leave, I heard a series of clattering sounds as items fell to the ground. Lu Mingchuan called my name from behind, but I didn't look back. 13. 2 weeks after Lu Mingchuan was discharged from the hospital, Chen Mo and I met at a cafe near our alma mater. 10 years had passed, and Chen Mo's demeanor had grown even more composed, with a touch of the resolute determination unique to a mature man between his brows, dressed in a simple white shirt and dark trousers. His eyes behind gold-rimmed glasses lit up when he saw me. Xiaoman. He stood up and pulled out the chair for me. You've lost weight, it's the norm for surgeons. I smiled and sat down. How is Su Yuan? Much better. Chen Mo pushed over a latte I had already ordered. She's preparing to reapply for MIT's doctoral program. The divorce proceedings are going smoothly. The Lu family didn't dare to cause any more trouble after seeing those recordings. I nodded, taking a small sip of coffee, letting the warm liquid slide down my throat. Thank you, Chen Mo suddenly said. If it weren't for you, Su Yuan might have been trapped in that marriage for life. I just did what I was supposed to do. I put down my cup. By the way, how's your research at Harvard going? Chen Mo's eyes suddenly lit up, and he began to talk incessantly about his project, regarding the application of gene editing technology in bone regeneration. As I listened, I couldn't help but smile. He was still the same Chen Mo who couldn't stop talking once he started on medicine, only now he was more confident and passionate. Actually, he suddenly changed the subject. Aside from dealing with Su Yuan's matter, there's another reason I came back this time. What? I asked curiously. He took a small box out of his pocket and pushed it toward me. My heart suddenly raced, and my fingers trembled slightly as I opened the box. Inside wasn't a ring, but a uniquely designed badge engraved with the words Harvard MIT Health Sciences and Technology Joint Program. I want to invite you to join my research team. Chen Mo's voice was calm, but his eyes were intense. combining your clinical experience with my foundational research. We can make groundbreaking work in the field of bone regeneration. I picked up the badge, and sunlight streaming through the window refracted into a rainbow of colors on its surface. Is this a job offer? Not just that. Chen Mo took a deep breath. It's also the beginning of me wanting to pursue you again. 10 years ago, you said we were still too young. Now, I think we're both mature enough to know what we want. I looked at the man who had accompanied me through the most important years after my rebirth, and a warm feeling surged in my chest. In my past life, I never experienced a healthy love. But in this life, Chen Mo has taught me in his own way what respect, understanding, and support truly mean. I need to think about it, I finally said. My work is here, and my patients need me. Of course, Chen Mo nodded. Whatever decision you make, I'll support you. When we left the cafe, the setting sun was just right, stretching our shadows long. Chen Mo's hand occasionally brushed against mine, warm and reassuring. Oh, by the way, he suddenly remembered something. Next month is the school anniversary. Teacher Lee invited us back to give a speech. Are you going? Yes. I answered without hesitation. I want to tell those kids that no matter what happens, life always gives you a second chance. A year later, Chen Mo and I held a simple wedding in the United States. On the eve of the wedding, I received a text message from an unfamiliar number. Congratulations. I owe you an apology, and I also owe you a thank you. Lu Mingchuan. I didn't reply, just silently deleted the message. According to Su Yuan, Lu Mingchuan's father had passed away not long ago. To support his family, Lu Mingchuan left the rehabilitation center early, and it's unknown what kind of work he is doing now, but I no longer care. Whether he's doing well or not has nothing to do with me. It's all the consequence of his own actions. At the wedding, when Chen Mo placed a specially made ring on my finger, the inner band was engraved with the words to heal, to love, to grow. I looked up at the man who was about to become my husband, my heart filled with a quiet joy. Instead of exchanging expensive diamond rings, we chose these unique surgical steel rings, symbolizing both our professions and the strong, pure bond between us. 5 years later, on the anniversary of our school's founding, Chen Mo and I returned to our alma mater to give a speech. Bringing our 3-year-old twins along, the 2 children sat in the front row, curiously looking around, while Chen Mo and I stood on the podium, sharing our story. The most wonderful thing about life, I said, smiling at the young faces in the audience, is that it is always full of infinite possibilities. No matter what setbacks you encounter, remember, the sun will still rise tomorrow, and you will always have the chance to start over. After the speech, a limping figure quietly slipped away from the back row of the auditorium. I didn't chase after him, nor did my gaze linger for too long. On the way home, Chen Mo was holding a child in each arm, and I walked beside him. The setting sun stretched the shadows of the 4 of us long, merging them together, pointing toward the distance. The end.